Afternoon.
Welcome to the Regional District Board, Wednesday, October 20th. I have confirmation of a quorum. I'd like to acknowledge that I am sitting on the unceded traditional territory of the Lekwiltuk peoples. In the room, Dr. Cornfield's with me, and I have staff of Tom, Edie, and Betty. Call the meeting to order. Adoption of the public agenda, please.
Move adoption.
Second.
Lee and Wally, thank you. Any additions? Hearing none, I'll call questions. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, carried. Petition delegations, there's none. Item E, adoption of the minutes for the regular meeting on October 6th.
Second.
Point of order. Sorry, Mr. Chair, not sure how to do this. I just got a text from Director Anderson that she seems unable to get into the meeting. So I was just wondering if someone could assist her getting into the meeting.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Thanks.
I'll just hit the request to join here. It's nudges there. So if they have problems with the invite, often that has helped. So
Okay.
oh, there she looks like she joined it.
Okay, thank you so much.
Director Anderson, you're in now?
Yeah, don't know what happened, but thanks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're just on petition delegations. There's none. We moved adoption, and I didn't get who moved it.
Wally. Abram.
Wally and Cornfield, thank you. Any errors or omissions? Question, all in favor, anyone opposed? Carried. Any business rising from the minutes? Public considerations, any notes of motion? Chair's report, I have just a couple of quick things. I sat on a Zoom meeting last week with Mr. Osborne. This is with all the island chairs and mayors on the island. Opportunity to discuss what's coming up in this current year. Of course, I brought up we're continuing on with a Connected Coast project. I also got a quick couple seconds in about our Recreate project, where we continue to look for funding for that project. Connected Coast, quick update. I think everybody received an email the other day. You can subscribe by email to get updates now. We had a very good meeting, so it was excellent. I sat in actually on the First Nations Committee meeting this morning. Very good discussions, great conversations, lots going on there. AVICC, Mr. Yates sent out an email the other day about deadline for resolutions, etc. Any people wanting to put their name forward to run for executive. That's in April 1st to 3rd in Victoria. They're still hoping it'll be an in-person convention. That's good. That's about all I got. So we can make a motion to receive my report.
Move receipt.
Cornfield Evans, thank you.
Question.
Mr. Chair, I just had one question. There were two other grant applications that are with Minister Osborne, I believe. Area D water metering. Did you talk about that when you visited the minister?
When no, it was a virtual meeting directly.
Okay, so
Just for
Yeah.
clarification there, so Director Lee, as we have it on correspondence today, and I received some additional correspondence as well today, that grant program is just opened up, so we will
Great.
make an application for Area D. Yeah.
all right. It's our second try.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Any discussion? I'll call question then. Is anyone opposed? My report, seeing none, carried. Item K, chair report, Strathcona Connected Coast Corporation. Motion to receive the report.
Move that the following regular meeting minutes of the Strathcona Connected.
Second.
I would move that the regular meeting minutes of Strathcona Connected Coast Network Corporation be received August 26, 2021 and August 12th, 2021.
Moved and seconded by Director Wally.
Yeah.
Any discussion? Hearing none, call questions. Anyone opposed? Carried. Item 2, Electoral Area Service Committee. Motion received the report.
Moved Abram.
Second, Lee.
Abram and Lee. And I'll go to CO. Anything to add?
Nothing to add, Mr. Chair.
Go. Call question on the report. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, carried. Under staff reports, development permit application DP 1C21 Du Young Park. Motion to receive the report.
So moved.
So moved.
Abram
Second,
and Lee. Go. On report, I'll call question. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, carried. And Director Moglove.
Oh, thank you. And I do have a motion to make prior to getting to B. And my motion is that the matter be deferred until the board obtains a legal opinion on the ramifications and any legal liabilities that the SRD may encounter with deferring the application for a MOTI traffic study.
Second.
Moved and seconded
Thanks.
by Director Cornfield. And I'll go to
Yeah, if I may
Director
speak to
Moglove.
this, thanks. When I read this report, I got quite concerned about, because this is a development permit and not a rezoning, there's a lot of legal differences between the two. And the reason this caught my eyes, because at the city, we've been told on more than one occasion that if a development complies with or is in complies with the development permit guidelines, then the only recourse for the council is to either reject or make other conditions. You have to align it with your development permit guidelines. You just can't do something out of the blue. And this, so it concerned me. So I did, talk to Dave and asked him about this. So normally speaking, I would not deign to get involved with the issues in the electoral areas. However, if I'm correct and there is a legal ramification here, that legal ramification is for the entire board. It's not just for the electoral area directors. So I think it's really important that we know that if this were to be deferred pending a MOTI traffic study, that it is absolutely within the legal authority to actually do that without inviting a lawsuit. So I think having this legal opinion is absolutely vital. And again, I wouldn't get involved except that legal ramification, and I can ask Dave to confirm, would fall on the entire board. So if I could ask Dave if I'm correct in that.
Well, presumably, lawsuits to the SRD would be to the SRD board, and unless it was to an individual, which I doubt this would be. So if there was a challenge, would normally come to the SRD board.
Thank you.
Yep. And I have Director Abram.
Yeah, I think I appreciate Director Moglov's concern about this being legal or not legal, but this is a development permit that is far beyond most rezonings that we have in our regional district electoral areas as far as the comprehensiveness of it. And it really, in my opinion, and I think in the opinion of the committee, it shouldn't have even been a development permit application. It should have been possibly a rezoning. The reason being, this zone that this Whiskey Point Resort is on was created in the late 60s, early 70s. And at that time, nobody would have ever had the expectation or the insight into what might come 30, 40 years later in 2021. This development for a large convention center is on an intersection. Well, it's on a road that goes to an intersection. It is a four-way intersection that is, by everybody's account, the busiest intersection on Quadra Island. It's had the most reports of accidents, near misses, complaints about traffic flow, complaints about ferry traffic. This is where, like, if you want to picture it in your mind, this is where you get off the ferry and you drive along a straight stretch, and then you come to an intersection. And if you go to the north side, you go into the DFO Harbor Authority parking lot. And if you go to the south side, you would go into the Whiskey Point Lodge and propose the proposal that's here. And if you go straight up the hill, you have 5 lanes, no, 5 lanes, 1, 2, 3, yeah, 4 lanes, sorry, of counter opposing traffic. 3 of them are downhill ferry traffic, 2 for holding, 1 for through traffic. And we also have 1 going uphill for the offloading traffic. The traffic flow also consists
Okay,
of
Director Abram.
3 school buses.
Director Abram, I
Yes.
just want to point out that your discussion right now is basically on B, potential effects. The motion on the floor right now is to defer.
And I am talking to why it should not be deferred, that
Okay.
we should have a MOTI study, because if there was, which we
Point of
don't know
order,
if there was.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
the motion on the floor is to get a legal opinion. The motion on the floor is not whether we should get a MOTI traffic study or not get a traffic study. The issue is whether we should get a legal opinion. And so I would ask that the comments be restricted to whether we should be getting a legal opinion on the issue.
Thank you. And I concur.
Okay,
Anything to add on the legal opinion?
yes, I would like to continue if I could. The legal opinion would be on whether or not we can do this, and it is my understanding that we can do this because it hasn't been
Okay, it's
done.
not, yeah,
And
it's your understanding. That's why we want legal opinion to make sure we are correct. Anything
well,
else?
I guess so. I guess I could ask that we defer the deferral
No.
to the electoral area directors forum, which is where this should rightfully be discussed.
I'll refer
I have a
to
seconder.
Mr. Yates. We already have a defer motion on the table.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe under your procedure bylaw, you must deal with a deferral before you can consider a further deferral.
Thank you. Okay, I have Director Anderson.
Thank you. I appreciate this motion. I've been quite uncomfortable with a number of matters that have been happening because our bylaws, our long-term land use planning bylaws are so out of date. There's so many of these kinds of situations that are arising that we're trying to find a way of getting the information we need and soliciting the public input that we need. I think at the consistent expense of what is actually legal and fair. So I actually really appreciate this. It does fall back on the board, most certainly. I'm grateful. I would support it. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have any other further speakers. Director Cornfield. Sorry, you just put it up. Thank you.
Nope.
Go ahead.
It was up. I just turned my mic on. Okay, sorry, I'm just trying to take my hand down. Anyway, I guess this is about undertaking or obtaining a legal opinion if we have any liabilities, and the board would share in that liability equitably, which puts us on our onus, and that's all that's being asked, is that we get a legal opinion on what the potential liabilities are. Once we know that, then we can deal with it from there.
Thank you, Director. You have any further questions?
I
Director
have a
Mogul?
comment, Mr. Chair. Director
Okay.
Lee.
Go ahead.
I think it's a little different in municipalities where you have a public works department that handles traffic flow issues within your city. But in the rural areas, we rely on MOTI to give us information. And I feel that the electoral area directors were being very diligent by asking MOTI to give us a report on traffic flows for that particular location, just because it's so dangerous there.
Okay,
As
Director
it
Lee,
is.
can I have your comments on the deferral motion, please?
I'm not in favor of deferring it. I think that will only exacerbate the weight that the developer has to look forward to, waiting for a legal opinion to come back. We are doing our due diligence. We've carefully considered this, and you know, sometimes you have to do the right thing and ask for a traffic study in an area that really needs one. I don't think we could be found at fault for doing that. We're doing our diligence.
Okay, and that's what the motion is asking for. Okay, Director Vogel, to wrap up.
Yeah, thanks. I just want to remind the board that the issue before the board at this moment is not whether there should be a MOTI traffic study or not. The issue is whether or not deferring the development permit on that basis is within the legalities of the SRD and the not the community charter, the local government act. That's the issue, because I think there's concerns here, and I want to make sure that if you do go forward with that deferral for this traffic study, that it is within the realms of what is allowed, and it's to protect the board from any legal liabilities. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Director Anderson, your hand up again, or it was just up before?
I'm not seeing it up at present.
Okay, thank you. It's gone now. Must be that delay of getting it from here to there. Thank you. Okay, I don't see any other hands up, so I'll call question on the motion. Is anyone opposed?
Lee?
Abram,
Lee and Abram. Is anyone else? See none, call question. It is carried.
Carried.
Go. Item 2, request for subdivision frontage relief. Motion received the report from the CAO.
Move receipt.
Second.
Wally and Lee, thank you. And I'll go to CAO.
Nothing to add, Mr. Chair.
Okay, on receipt, I'll call questions. Anyone opposed? See none, carried. And on the B.
Mr. Chair, could I see that on the agenda? I think it's my area and I can't see what it is.
Okay, one sec. There you go, Director Wally. Item B.
Move B.
Do I have a seconder?
Second.
Dr. Lee, thank you. Any discussion? See none, I'll call questions. Anyone opposed? See none, carried. Item 3, request for commemorative gift installation, Ferguson. Motion
Move.
receive the report.
Move receipt.
Anderson, Wally second. Let's go to CO.
Nothing to add, Mr. Chair.
Bill, on receipt. Call questions. Is anyone opposed? See none, carried. And item B, the request for Andrew Ferguson to install a commemorative gift in Hanks Beach Forest Conservation Park located in area B, be approved.
Moved as written.
Second.
Dr. Anderson, Director Wally.
Just
Phil?
speaking to, if I
Go
might,
ahead, Director. Go ahead, Director Anderson.
just very briefly, yeah, this request has been before myself and staff for, I think, well over a year now. And I'm glad that we're at last finally finding a way of moving through on a case-by-case basis with some of these and coming to resolution. And I think that this particular one is very well founded. There's no benches anywhere in this 100 and some acre park. And I think it'd be a great contribution. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Director Anderson. Any further comments? I'll call question on the motion. Anyone opposed? See none, carried. Item 4, request for gift installation, Jaeger,
Move
Motion to
receipt.
receive, Director Lee, Director Cornfield, and the CAO.
Nothing to add, Mr. Chair.
Okay. On receipt, call questions. Anyone opposed? Seeing none carried. And item B,
Move B, that the request from Sheila and Martin Yeager to install a commemorative gift at the Oyster River Shoreline Park located in electoral area D be supported, subject to terms and conditions deemed appropriate by the Chief Administrative Office.
okay, moved by Director Lee, second by Director Cornfield. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call questions. Anyone opposed? Seeing none carried. Item 5, request for gift installation, Livingston. Motion to receive the report.
Move receipt.
Second.
Lee and Wally. Anything to add, CEO?
Nothing to add, Mr. Chair.
Go. On receipt, call questions. Anyone opposed? Seeing none carried. And on item B,
And move B, that the request from John Livingston to install a commemorative gift in the Oyster Bay Shoreline Park located in electoral area D be approved, subject to terms and conditions deemed appropriate by the Chief Administrative Officer.
Director Lee, thank you.
Second.
Second Director Cornfield. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call question.
I could just say
Yep,
to
go
the
on.
board that we're not actually installing new benches. We have benches throughout Oyster Bay Shoreline Park, and these two applicants have just requested a plaque to be put on each of them to commemorate their loved ones who used to frequent the park. So it's not a full installation, it's just a plaque.
Excellent. Thank you, Director Lee. Cool. Call questions. Anyone opposed? Seeing none carried. Item 6, wood chipping update. Motion to receive the report from the CEO.
Move receipt.
Director Wally. Director Evans, second. Thank you. And the CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe Sean will speak to this for us.
Thank you. Mr. Coopin.
Or, sorry, maybe Sean's not with us. I'll defer to Tom. Sean may be up in Zabalis or Cayucit or Taskus here today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do believe that Sean is not able to join us today, unfortunately. So with respect to this report, there are some alternatives that are outlined in the report should the board wish to pursue any of them. Otherwise, it is simply presented for receipt at this time.
Thank you. Any questions? Director Abram.
Yeah, so receipts already been moved? Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Okay, well, I will have an alternative, or no, I'll have a motion, subsequent motion, that's the word I'm looking for, right after receipt.
Okay, thank you. Director Anderson.
Thank you. Of the options presented, I would certainly support option 1. I've spoken with Sean Koopman about this and the possibility of nonprofits or organizations here using the chips to the community's benefit, I think would be better than sending them off island or not getting chips in the future. But in Sean's absence, I'm wondering, is there anybody on staff who could speak a little bit to the conversations that happened with CBRD that led to no end? What options were discussed that were found to be non-viable? Or because I remember speaking with CBRD staff over a year ago now, trying to find a way of dealing with the chips on island a year ago. And there was some consideration about whether there could be some kind of chip composting at the solid waste management depot, and it was determined probably not, but they were certainly willing at the time to really work on alternatives. So I'm just curious what dead ends were found there.
I'm going to go to Mr. Yates.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have not been in a conversation with Sean regarding the details of the conversations with the Comox Strathcona Waste Management, nor with the resistance or hesitance to find a solution. So I can't really speak to what that looked like. But in speaking to Sean after that, these were the options that he believed regional district wanted to move forward with a solution.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Yates. Mr. Director Abram.
Yeah, thank you. Just on Director Anderson's comments, I believe there are a couple of meetings behind what's actually gone on. Comox Strathcona Waste Management doesn't really have anything to do with this at this time. The discussions were between UBCM and BC Wildfire Services. And the last report that we received was between those groups with Sean and what they came back with, their offer, which was basically a non-viable. It didn't work for anybody. Nobody's property was that big to be able to meet their criteria. So Sean went back to another conversation with them, and they came up with the possibility that option 1 or 2 could be moved forward on. So that's what's before us now. It's not between Comox Strathcona Waste Management. It's basically between us and whether or not we meet the UBCM criteria for the use of the grant money, is my understanding from talking to Sean.
Okay, thank you. And Director Anderson?
Yeah, thank you. I, as much as I would like to support option 2, it's kind of the sensical option in this climate. I don't think the board is going to go for it because it would require, everybody to be signing waivers for the use of the chips, and I don't know how that would possibly be monitored, and liability to the district. The reason that the reason that the
Point of order. We
Yes,
are on
Director Abram,
receipt. We are on receipt, I believe. So should we be discussing whether or not we go for option 1 or option 2?
No.
No.
I was about to speak to Director Abrams' comments about the CVRD, Mr. Chair.
Carry on.
That the reason that the previous motion included directing staff to cooperate with CVRD was that there was an understanding that we could dispose of these wood chips at a designated facility. And the hope was that with CVRD, we could create designated facilities for disposal on the respective islands and not have to ship them off to Campbell River to a designated facility. And that with the cooperation of the CVRD, who manages solid waste, that they might be able to come up with a designated facility where these chips could be deposited, stored, potentially composted and redistributed. So that is what I would have loved to have seen, and that's why I was asking about information from CVRD. But given the 2, I think really the only viable one is option 1, and I'd happily discuss that when we get there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I don't see any further discussion on receipt, so I'll call questions. Anyone opposed? Carried. And Director Abram.
My subsequent motion would be that the regional district, well, let's go with just saying option 1, that we go with that.
Okay, we have a mover. Do we have a seconder?
Second, Davis.
Director Davis. And for discussion? Director Abram, your hand's still up or is up for discussion?
Well, yeah, it was for discussion. This particular option does at least allow us to keep it on the island at a facility of some sort. The people that I have talked to on the island that have the ability to accept such, masses of chips, whatever they may be, are willing to do it. I have their comment or an email from them that they would be willing to take it on, but that's going to be discussion between staff and the people that actually own the property, which is about a 50-acre gravel pit that's needing remediation. So it has to be remediated by adding material to it and replanting it. And I think this would be the perfect answer, but all of the details of things like cost, shipping, et cetera, that's a staff issue. I don't want to get involved in that. I'll just pass the name on to Dave and he can deal with it.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other discussion on the motion? See none, I'll call questions. Anyone opposed?
I think Martin might have his hand up.
Oh, Martin, did you have a question?
Not a question, just a comment. I've always reiterated regarding things like this that it doesn't make any sense to be shipping wood chips out of our community at, great cost in terms of fossil fuel usage. We would like to get into composting big time in our community, and we see this as another source. And we also do have places where we could place the wood chips that are within the required distance away from any structures. So I just don't see any logic in us shipping out of our community. So I would support option 1.
Okay, thank you, Director Davis. I don't see any further hands up. I'll call question on the motion. Is anyone opposed? See none, carried. And bylaws, bylaw 431, Black Creek Oyster Bay water meter replacement. Motion to receive the report.
Move receipt.
Second.
Director Lee. Director Wally seconded, and I'll go to CAO.
Nothing to add, Mr. Chair.
Okay, on receipt. I'll call questions. Anyone opposed? See none, carried. And item
Move
B, the
Move adoption of bylaw 431.
Director Lee, second.
Second.
Second by Director Cornfield. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call questions. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, carried. Item 2, bylaw 445, regional broadband service, temporary boring. Motion to receive the report.
Move
receipt.
Cornfield and Evans, thank you.
Second,
And I'll go to CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is just a necessary bylaw in terms of our broadband service bylaw to borrow funds for last mile. Until you ultimately know the amount of money that you need to borrow for the capital project, you short-term borrow the money in bits and pieces until you have that collective number. So a necessity out of that original bylaw is that we need to create a temporary servicing bylaw.
Cool. On receipt, I'll call questions. Anyone opposed? See none, carried. Item B, bylaw 445, being a bylaw to authorize temporary boring for the first time.
So moved, Davis.
Davis,
Second.
Baker second. Any discussion?
I would just like some clarification. So we're planning to borrow $18 million. Is this going to be repaid by City West or?
Yes.
Yes,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
so we'll get all that back.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay,
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Seeing none, I'll call a question. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, carried. Item C, the rules be suspended for 445 being given second and third readings.
Move C.
Director Evans, second.
Second.
Cornfield. Any discussion? Seeing none, carried. And item D, bylaw 445 being regional broadband service temporary boring authorization, bylaw 2021 be now reconsidered, finally passed and adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Adams and Evans. Any discussion? See none. Anyone opposed? Carried. Item 0, correspondence, environmental quality funding. Motion Steve.
move receipt.
Director
Second,
Lee. Director Abram. Any discussion?
Maybe I can just make a quick comment, Mr. Chair. At UBCM, the minister advised us that there would be a program coming out shortly in terms of supporting water and sewer infrastructure projects. So this is the program she brought forward to us. We will be bringing a report back to the next EASC with the projects that we have in the queue and that qualify for this funding.
Thank you. Director Abram.
Yes, just very pleased that first of all, that the minister has come out with this offer and this intake. And I certainly look forward to the report that comes to electoral areas. I know Director Lee's application's been long-standing, and now we have one for Area C for we can't proceed with other things until we have a water system in place in Area C for Kwashiaki Cove. So looking forward to it. Hopefully we're going to have 2 applications going in, and both of them are going to get accepted, and we're going to get millions of dollars.
Great, thank you, Director Abram. Don't see any further hands up. I'll call question on receipt. Is anyone opposed? Seeing none carried. No members, no management, no new business, no addendum. Closed item, move the report to CEO be received.
Move receipt.
Director Lee,
Well,
Wally second. Any discussion? Call questions. Anyone opposed? Carried. Item B, closed meeting be held immediately following termination of public meeting to
Move
consider
D
matters.
with the sections named.
Director Lee, seconder, Director Wally. Anyone opposed? Seeing none carried. Motion to terminate.
termination.
Director Wally,
Second.
Director Adams. Okay, it's only 1:06. What's going on here? Did somebody change the time in the clock?
We're just more organized, getting better all the time.
Call question? Anyone opposed? Carried. Off to closed.
Okay.